Hi, this is Barry White. The Weekend Rock is next. Stay tuned to the show. There's a lot of stuff you need to know. Show you right.
This week, we look at the future Rock and Roll Museum, and chat with the always candid Boy George, and meet some confirmed couch potatoes. Hi, I'm Adam Curry. Welcome to a Super Bowl weekend edition of The Week in Rock.
And I'm Julie Brown, in for Denver Broncos fan Carolyn Heldman.
The Super Bowl wasn't the only big event making news this week, as our Monday night sandwiched around the President's State of the Union address with the American Music Awards. Dick Clark's awards show celebrated 15 years of music prizes voted on entirely by the fans.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. To you, to you, to you, thank you.
Thank yous were in abundance as Whitney Houston and Anita Baker each won in 2 categories at the American Music Awards. There were musical performances from new groups, old groups, big production numbers, and flashy clothes, compliments of Bon Jovi. Their pal Cher presented them with the award for Best Rock Group, and the band sent a message to the critics.
What we need to do is to give this one to all the critics who said that Bon Jovi was a flash in the pan, who said that Bon Jovi was nothing. And as long as it's okay with them, this is for the critics, but, well, if it's okay, I'm going to keep it at my house, okay?
The really big winner of the night was a more conservative type. New country star Randy Travis made 4 trips to the podium, but there were some notable no-shows. Neither Michael Jackson nor Sister Janet, who won Best Video, were there, and Paul Simon was down in Brazil, which led Terrence Trent D'Arby to reveal some dastardly plans for Paul's award.
We'll sort of accept his award and find a pawn shop where we can sort of, maybe get some money to get drunk or something.
The sex symbol of the night had to be LL Cool J, who drew screams from the audience when he rapped his best and bared his chest. Then the show wound up with the Award of Merit. David Lee Roth presented it to the Beach Boys, which gave Brian Wilson the chance to read verbatim the same speech he used at last week's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
27 years ago, over a summer weekend in 1961,
the guys and I got a bright idea.
We were going to write a song. My parents
were going away and they left us money
for food. As soon as they split,
we took the food money and used it for musical instruments.
But in a night filled with music, at the party after the show, talk turned to politics. And with the Iowa caucuses just 2 weeks away, a dark horse from New Jersey almost threw his hat in the ring.
I'm running for president. Let's talk about that. Hey, if Gary Hart can get away with this, think about this now. Donna Rice and Gary Hart, right? Puts the guy on the cover of every publication known to man. Well, then I was thinking about it. I should go out with Donna Rice, right? You could read the headlines. You give love a bad name. Picture me and Donna just like this. It'd be pretty cool, right? And then all of a sudden I can start my campaign. John for president in '88. I can't be any worse off than these guys are. I got a shot at it.
A long-anticipated reunion of The Who will be taking place later this month in London. The band is set to play 2 songs at the BPI Awards, the British equivalent of the Grammys. The group may be doing a short tour after the BPIs to celebrate their 25th anniversary. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey and John Entwistle and Kenny Jones have not shared the stage since Live Aid in 1985.
Well, meanwhile, we've just learned that after 10 years together, the Cars have called it quits. Now, apparently there was no reason given by the band's record company or management, but the Cars' most recent album, Door to Door, did not sell well, and ticket sales on the subsequent tour were disappointing as well. No word yet on band members' future plans. Other news, there's no doubt the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies have been the musical event of the year so far. The city of Cleveland, Ohio has been chosen as the site for the hall, but will the museum ever be built? The issue was addressed at a recent meeting in New York.
Let us all join in. Everybody sing. Everybody.
For the last 3 years, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has inspired jam sessions like never before. But each year, they've taken place at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. The hall's designated home city of Cleveland had yet to come up with a location, let alone plans for the Rock Shrine until now.
After, a year or 2 years of fussing about and looking at sites and mulling it over and brooding and and getting a lot of questions about what's happening and where you're going and so on, to at last present some physical reality to this project.
The model for that reality was unveiled for the governor and other Cleveland dignitaries who gathered at architect I.M. Pei's offices.
If we're successful in capturing the spirit of rock and roll, then I think that this building will succeed.
At the site in Cleveland, all that exists now is a sign and a lot of room for improvement.
This whole area of the flats and the river, it's wide open. The future is to be planned and built.
Some are pessimistic that the Hall of Fame and City of Cleveland will not be able to raise the $25 million necessary to build the museum. But since the completion is not expected before 1992, others feel there is plenty of time to get the cash. As for what's inside the hall, there'll be more than just tapes of past induction ceremonies.
We're not going to concentrate so much on artifacts as we are going to try to give the visitor a feeling of the history of rock and roll music and the musics that preceded it.
So someday, the music that started in garages will have its own museum to house live performances, exhibit halls, film tape and record libraries, and even the induction ceremonies and jam sessions of the 90s.
Well, we've been hearing some new music from Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Lennon the past couple of weeks. The Westwood One radio network is playing a series they call the Lost Lennon Tapes. It consists of John Lennon music that has never been heard before. Yoko Ono told us exactly what it consists of and why the Lennon estate has made it available.
Well, there's some unreleased songs and also some songs that you have heard before, but you've heard it in a finished record track when John is just strumming in a room or something like that. It's a private moment, it's very personal, and when you listen to it, you feel like you're in the next room. That's the idea.
A John Lennon documentary film is also in the works.
When we come back, David Lee Roth climbs a vinyl mountain, couch potatoes unite, and Boy George dishes the dirt.
I was talking to Trojan, and Trojan had just scissored his ear in half. And I thought he'd done it with plaster of Paris or something, and I said, oh, that's so clever. And he said, yeah. And I said, how'd you do it? He said, I cut it off with a pair of scissors. And honestly, I couldn't believe it. I actually gave him a lecture.
I say Washington Redskins are going to win. I'll have to go with the Redskins. It's unanimous. The Broncos.
The Redskins! Oh, Redskins! Redskins! Redskins!
Yeah, Redskins. Welcome back to the Week in Rock.
Okay, there may have been plenty of pop stars in the 80s, but none more colourful or outspoken than Boy George. He's gone from fronting one of the world's top groups to serious drug problems and slumping record sales, and finally a comeback of sorts as a solo artist. Through it all, he's maintained a sense of humour and an opinion on just about everything. In fact, the only problem we had in putting together this week's profile on George, well, there was so much good stuff to choose from.
Well, I had an obsession when I was a teenager. When I'd get on the train, I'd look out of the train window and I'd look at all those lights and I'd think, God, they'll never know me. I mean, whether or not that's unfortunate for them, I don't know. But I used to think, like, they'll never know me, and it used to be a big thing for me. So I think that's probably, you know, it was a teenage ambition to be sort of worldwide, to be known worldwide, but I never really thought that it would happen. I mean, you know, if you think I've got problems, I mean, my younger brothers are like, always beating up policemen and stuff like that, you know. And like, I mean, my parents are always having trouble, you know, with my family. And it's been going on since we were teenagers. My oldest brother, Richard, was arrested, I think, about 6 times while he was at school. You know, so I mean, my mum was like well versed on the sort of like, you know, how to deal with the police, you know. Bronski beating people like that, they're always sort of slagging me off for not, you know, wearing a pink triangle on my forehead and sort of going around screaming gay lib. I mean, if I meet another right-on queen, I think I'm going to gag. Do you know what I mean? I can't be bothered with all that gay rights crap. Do you know what I mean? You are what you are and live with it. I mean, I do not understand celibacy. I'm sorry. I think it's an alien concept to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sort of like a horny monster or anything like that. But the idea of celibacy, I mean, come on, it's completely mad. You must agree with me on that. Eating and making love are like 2 of the most important human functions. And to actually deny yourself that privilege and pleasure, I think is completely ridiculous. In this business, you're competing with a lot of people who aren't talented. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. No, actually, yes, I am. I am saying I'm better than other people. But, I mean, you know, you've got you sort of like big stars like George Michael and Madonna. Now, Madonna cannot sing. I mean, that's a fact. But she's such a good star. Do you know what I mean? She's such a great entertainer, and she's such a sort of fabulous star that you don't care whether she can sing or not. Do you know what I mean? It's like like Billy Idol's another one. I mean, Billy can't sing, but he's just like great at being Billy Idol, and I think that's what it is. It's just being a star. All I ever do, when I'm with Madonna, all I ever ask her about is Sean Penn. Our big Z, Madonna. That won't make it onto MTV. I mean, people say like, why? And if I had the answer, you know, I think I'd be a much better person than I am. You know, I think probably it'll take me my whole lifetime to actually know why I started doing it, you know. I mean, you know, if I was to reflect on it, I could say, you know, well, you know, I had a couple of flopped albums, and I had a bad love affair with the drummer. You know, I mean, it's a bit like being in ABBA, really. And I suppose that could have been the reason, but, you know, again, you know, it's just something that happened. I can't really explain it, you know. Neither do I want to.
Boy George's latest solo single here in the States is Live My Life, from the soundtrack of the movie Hiding Out. Adam?
Oh, thank you very much, Julie. Well, after all of that, from that veteran UK pop star of the 80s who moved to a rookie. Now, even though he's a newcomer, Rick Astley already has 3 British hits under his belt, and his debut American single, Never Gonna Give You Up, is shooting up our charts. Right now, we've got to look at a guy who's put the little town of Newton-le-Willows, England, on the map.
You know, I'm lucky in the respect that you're born with a voice. You're not born with the ability to play like Eddie Van Halen, you know.
What Eddie Van Halen is to rock guitar, Rick Astley is becoming to British pop. It's an unlikely success story for a guy from a tiny English town and a family whose business is truck driving, not music.
Does anyone else in your family sing?
Not really, no. I mean, we've always had a piano in the house, and, you know, everybody sort of tinkles away and everything, so, but it's not a really, I wouldn't say it was a musical, it's not the Jacksons, you know. Even though I was really determined, coming from Newton-le-Willows isn't really the best starting place you could have, you know. It's miles away from the music scene, and not only do you have to perhaps be talented, but you also have to have a break as well, you know, and that happened when I was about 19.
That break came in the form of Pete Waterman, the head of England's powerful hit factory Stock Aitken and Waterman. Their company, PWL, has put the likes of Bananarama, Mel and Kim and Dead or Alive on the charts. Waterman spotted Rick performing in a small club and invited him down to London to work as a studio tape operator turned T-boy.
A tape op is a T-boy, and then you progress to being the tape op and then engineer, you know, and blah-de-blah. So basically I was making tea, yeah, for everybody, you know. Damn good tea it was as well.
After paying his dues, Rick finally released the smash debut Never Gonna Give You Up. That song had people thinking he sounded like Luther Vandross. Then at Christmas, Rick was confused with Nat King Cole when he released a cover of the standard When I Fall in Love.
When I fall in love, it will be forever.
Rick's plans for '88 include a second album and his debut tour, but in a lot of ways, he's still a small-town boy with a small-town idea of success.
I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and just happened to have a voice that people like, I suppose, so.
I can feel that, you feel that way through, is when I fall in love with you.
Ah, that's wonderful. Now, Rick's Never Gonna Give You Up jumps 8 places to 16 on this week's Billboard chart.
Okay, next month's Winter Olympics in Calgary, Canada is shaping up to be as much of a rock event as an athletic one as well. The Olympic Arts Festival is a 6-week showcase of Canadian artistic excellence. It got underway this week with a concert by Loverboy and continued Friday night with Neil Young, plus the first Canadian performance by the Soviet rock band Autograph. On February the 20th, once the game gets underway, Bryan Adams will play a special show just for the Olympic athletics.
With his 1986 album Eat 'Em and Smile, we saw David Lee Roth as a jungle warrior with makeup spears and a penchant for glazed donuts. But the new '88 skyscraper model of Dave includes rock climbing on top of record stores, heart-shaped guitars, and a flying surfboard. Here's more on the always subtle Diamond Dave.
Hey, it's good to be back. Here we go, 1988, the big kickoff. Here we are. Looking to make some real musical technicolor here, some real musical gymnastics. It's not what you're going to expect.
Hollywood, lights, camera, action. It all adds up to David Lee Roth. And recently, Diamond Dave stopped traffic on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles to unveil his living billboard atop Tower Records.
We have erected a huge rock candy mountain on top of the biggest record store in the free world, bar none, and we're going to climb it. And of course, what is any good mountain without climberettes? Yeah. So we have our climberettes up there, you know, our girls with their little hard hats and stuff. It's a live billboard.
But of all things, why a mountain? And why the title Skyscraper for the new LP?
Climbing is something I've been doing actively on vertical walls for about 3 years now. That's the theme of the whole album. That's the theme of the whole year is let's see how far out we can stick our necks this time. Let's not worry at all about the commercial interest. Let's not worry at all. Rock and roll is exactly like rock climbing. It's either straight up or straight down. So
Roth carried his ideas of climbing and flying into the studio, where he used them to coach guitar whiz Steve Vai on his solos.
I showed him pictures, you know, of very high altitude places and says it has to sound like this. He'd play the solo. I go, no, colder. He'd play the solo. I go, no, I'm not afraid enough. He'd play the solo. I go, that's it. Some of this music sounds like it's flying, like it's soaring. So we have a 28-foot surfboard, and we ride it over the heads of the crowd, you know?
So when Dave and his crew hit the road next month, prepare yourself for anything, as you may just find yourself in the ring with him.
And it just might come your way as Dave and his band will head out on a world tour starting in March.
Washington Redskins.
What do you think?
Denver.
I'm from Washington because they got Doug Williams. Do it, Doug!
I figure the Broncos need a break. Yeah. Elway's amazing.
Yep.
Hey, we're back with the Week in Rock.
Musicians aren't the kind of people you'd expect to see hanging around conventions, unless, of course, it happens to be a NAMM convention. Twice a year, this group puts on an exhibition featuring the very latest musical instruments and recording equipment, and it never fails to draw a star-studded crowd. As you're about to see, this winter's NAMM convention was no exception.
Where do you get Dweezil Zappa, Robert Cray, CeCe DeVille of Poison, and Journey's Neil Schon together in one place? It's at NAMM. That's the National Association of Music Merchants, who for the last 4 years have put on this show and tell. The Anaheim convention drew 40,000 industry pros who came for a look and a listen to the music and the recording tools of the future.
I'm looking for a new home studio. So it's like, okay, where am I going to look? Am I going to go to every music store in town, or get every single catalog there is, or no? You just come to NAMM show.
From the highest tech to the simplest toys, it was all there.
Check it out! Woo! The air guitars, and they play everything. Hit it!
You can just go. Forever and ever.
There were all sorts of things to be played, even computers. From Apple to a xylophone, they are the wave of the present.
You've got to be able to run a computer if you want to compete in this day and age.
I think the key to making it work is to not forget the human aspect of music. I mean, we can create machines, but we can't create soul.
That's my hardest rule.
But there was plenty of soul when Robert Cray took the stage and entertained the NAMM audience.
This year's Summer NAMM convention will take place in Atlanta, and that'll be in June.
Well, celebrity commercials made plenty of news this week. Pepsi unveils a new spot during the Super Bowl featuring Michael J. Fox and Less Than Zero's Jamie Gertz. The two have to do some fancy footwork to escape an angry country dog and still get their Diet Pepsi. And even though George Harrison objected to the Beatles' Revolution being used by Nike, Chrysler has begun running commercials for its LeBaron car set to the re-recording of the Beatles' Something, which George wrote. Meanwhile, things don't look so good on the ad front for Bruce Willis. Rumors increased this week that Seagram's has dropped Willis as its Golden Wine Cooler spokesperson. Reportedly, the company isn't happy that Willis's bouts with booze and the law led him to an alcohol treatment center. No one from Seagram's or Willis's office would comment on the reports.
Well, despite this being the age of AIDS, we're seeing more sex than ever on television and not much talk about safe sex. Those are the findings of a survey conducted by the Harris Organization for Planned Parenthood. The results, which were released this week, concluded that on an average, 65,000 sexual references are made in afternoon or evening prime time each year. That's 27 examples of sex an hour, including 9 kisses and 1 or 2 references to intercourse. That compares to a small fraction of mentions per hour of birth control or sexually transmitted diseases. Now, if you do want to practice birth control and you think men should share the responsibility, you're in luck. So research is being done on a new birth control pill that both men and women could take. It's derived from newly discovered sex hormones that are found in both sexes. The pill is only in the early stages of research, and Planned Parenthood says that we may not see results until the year 2000. But will I be needing it by then is the question.
Oh, I don't know, but do you remember kindergarten when you put a potato in a glass in the window and it grew roots? Well, these days millions of Americans are in danger of sprouting roots in their own living rooms. 40-channel cable TVs and VCRs have created couch potatoes everywhere you look. The first nationwide couch potato convention was held in Chicago last weekend, and MTV News was on hand for a look at those people whose idea of exercise is changing the channel.
Has become a nation of couch potatoes. You're probably being a couch potato right now.
You probably are being one now, but not to worry because you're not alone. 1/3 of the American population has chosen television as their evening leisure activity and have, by their own admission, turned into couch potatoes.
I am a couch potato.
For the few of you who don't know or haven't partaken in the joys of spudhood, this is what it's all about.
We just live for television.
You want to be able to time you're going out for snacks and you're doing things when the commercials are on.
We have a distinct fear of leaving your living room to eat anywhere else or watch TV anywhere else.
Several hundred couch potatoes gathered at a convention this past weekend in Illinois. If the crowds looked a little sparse, it is because couch potatoes are by nature homebound creatures. But those that did venture out were treated to some of their favorite food and merchants ready to cater to the necessities of a couch potato's life.
It's a one-size-fits-all potatoes.
I've got junk food on, and then I also have TVs, which is probably familiar to y'all.
This shirt made me survive the week after the season, because the week after season generally you don't do anything but lay around. So I just wear this shirt, a pair of loose underwear, and some socks. Watch MTV the whole time.
Along with entertainment, the convention held a Sofa Spud Olympics featuring the couch potato flop and the fast food equestrian, which is the dash for nourishment during a commercial break. There was also exercise during the commercials and even some commercial therapy.
The vegetative person is learning all the time, but it's good to get away. You learn from TV and then you apply it out into everyday life. And that's what's going on at the Couch Potato Weekend.
Yes, it is television that is first and foremost to a couch potato existence. And even away from home, a TV dinner delivered by room service is a welcome treat.
The only thing that's missing is a remote control.
Those people looked in really great shape, don't you think?
I do agree. Are we staying in and watching TV tonight? Are you flicking channels?
I'll come over and I'll plug my set into yours.
Okay, well, I think that's about it for this edition of The Week in Rock.
Well, okay, next week we'll have a talk with Jody Watley, also a profile of Whitesnake's David Coverdale, and the story of how Kevin Seal goes gaga over babies. But now we leave you with more priceless footage from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. See you.